Okay, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be walking you through my full plan for 2023. We're going to discuss goals, and hopefully it's going to be a way for you to get a good insight into where I'm currently at with my own training, but also hopefully it's a good way for you to assess and look at your own goals for 2023. So this is my first video of 2023. So first of all, I hope you all had a great Christmas, a great New Year. I tried to film a video the other day, and the topic was going to be some chest training stuff, and I'd asked for some stuff on Instagram from people, and I was going to play around with some different workouts. And then when I filmed it and I started editing it, and I was like, this concept isn't quite right just yet. So I scrapped that, and I thought, actually, what do I want to do for my first video of the year? And I'd rather just have something a little bit more chilled, sitting down, talking about, like I say, goals for the new year. But then also, this video will be a great way for me to be able to stay accountable, which is something that I've done with a lot of my videos in the past. If I say it on camera and I put it out to the world, then I stick to it. So let's recap on 2022. It was a wild and crazy year for me, but I think more than anything, it will go down in my mind as more of like a special year in a really weird way. So I kind of touched on this in a video that I did at one point last year, which I put above me, where I basically was speaking about, and I was quite open about the fact that my health took a real dip last year for multiple different reasons. But then I started to sort things out and get some help with it, and it opened up a new chapter in my life, which was really positive. But unfortunately, I had to kind of go through the negatives to get to the positives. So how that impacted my training was pretty substantial, because it meant that I wasn't enjoying training anymore, which is something that I've never experienced before, ever. So that was a real shock. It meant that because eating was quite difficult for me at the time, bulking was very difficult, and there was periods of time where actually more than anything I was just maintaining. Considering the circumstances, I still feel like last year I made really big strides with my physique. I did gain some extra muscle, but I also, towards the back end of the year, just to begin trying to help get my health back on track as well, I did a bit of a tidying up phase, nothing drastic, nothing crazy. The whole point of it was to take it really slow, and I dropped, I think it was maybe, I can't actually remember now already, but I think it was like 5 kilos. And it was all that I needed, just to kind of give myself a bit of routine, get a bit of focus back. And that was something that has now set me up to get back into a bulk for this year. The other two things that I learned last year was that right now, where I'm at in my life, 4 training days works better for me than 5. And the biggest thing, more than anything, that I learned last year was that my way of training was no longer working for me. So I am somebody who loves and believes in training to failure. So you keep on going until you can't go anymore. This was being fueled by negative emotions. So I would do take a set to failure, and I'm taking myself to really dark places to push to failure. And because it was allowing me to do this, and I was seeing the physique progression, the strength progression, I thought, this is working great. And it was for years, but unfortunately what happened was, over time, that started to wear me down mentally. And also, the worst thing more than anything is that the thoughts have to get darker, because you can't just repeat the same thought over and over and get the same result from it. You have to think of things that are even worse. And it was all spiraling, and basically that's why I started to hate training, because I was making myself think of horrific things. So that was something that I really had to take a step back and be like, wow, this is actually not working for me anymore, and completely just changed up the way that I was training. So now it was a very gradual process, don't get me wrong, but I now, I don't listen to music that is like screaming in my ears. I listen to songs that make me feel good. I'm trying to just take my time when I'm in the gym. I'm not rushing anything. I'm trying to remain kind of, I don't allow myself to get angry, and I just focus on being there in the moment. And that was, like I say, that was not something that was easy to do. It wasn't just like I just woke up and changed that. That took a lot of time. But now I'm actually loving my training again, which is the most important thing. So now that I have waffled on about last year and you know where I'm at now, let's dive into my setup for this year. If you are someone who is just setting out on your training, or you're somebody that's been doing this for a while, both sides are going to hopefully get some good info from this, and there might be some stuff that you want to copy or take some inspo from. So going into the new year, this is my training plan. We've got 4 days. We've got push and some abs. We've got lower. We've got pull and triceps, and we've got upper. So obviously dropping down from 5 to 4 days meant that I had to be selective about what areas I really want to focus on. Obviously I can't do 5 days worth of volume in 4 days. So some areas have been cut, but also I'm allowing myself now, this is my last full year before I get to 2024, and 2024 is where I want to get into the best shape of my life. I said this a few years back, I've been planning this for ages. Originally the goal was to compete. It's looking more likely now that actually my goal is going to be a photo shoot, just because my preference has changed. But either way, I'm going to be getting into the leanest I've ever been next year in 2024. So this is going to be my last year of really maximizing time built towards gaining size. So this is super important this year. It's a big year in my life. So push and abs, let's go through this first one. So we're going to be starting out with dual cable lateral raises. We've got 3 sets on there. We then go into our chest portion of the workout. So we've got chest pressing, and for anyone that's interested in the exacts on this, I'm going to be using the Nautilus Nitro chest press. It's my favorite chest press ever. Then going to go into some low incline Smith machine pressing. We've got the pec deck in there. Then we've got dumbbell skull crushers, single arm cable push downs. Arms are an area that I really want to bring up. More specifically, to be fair, my biceps. My biceps have always been quite a weak area for me. Triceps, not so much. So everything in terms of arms is programmed. However, what's really important more than anything is that I'm just hitting the right number of sets. If I get to this portion of the workout and, for example, I can't get on a cable machine, I will just swap it out for something that is going to work equally just as well for myself. I'm not going to stand and wait around for arm stuff. Of course, I'll stand around and wait for as long as I need to for, say, the chest press. When it comes to arm stuff, I'm not going to stand around and wait for it. I'll just pick something else that is going to work just as well for myself. What's really important more than anything there for me is, yes, obviously exercise selection is important, but I also now know exactly the amount of sets that I need to get in, so that's the most important thing more than anything. Abs, this kind of changes weekly, because one really important thing for me that I am setting myself as a goal for this year, and I'm sticking to thus far, although I mean we're only a week in, so I'm not going to toot my own trumpet for that, is to make sure that I'm doing conditioning work every single week, because I've seen the benefits, not just physically but also mentally, and I want to make sure that I'm getting that in. My steps are always around 8 to 10,000 a day as a minimum, so my conditioning work is more kind of a higher intensity but doesn't last as long. So yes, written down, I've got machine crunches and some cable spinal flexion, but sometimes I will actually mix some ab stuff into my conditioning work and I'll skip those two there. There might still be some crunches, maybe it'll be a plank. Ab stuff is still getting done, but it's not always exactly what it says as is written down. Now, if there's any exercises in this that you aren't sure what they are, please feel free to obviously ask down below, but also a good place to follow me is on my Instagram, because I'm always posting a lot of these exercises and taking you through my workout so you can see exactly what these are. So for example, the cable spinal flexion, you might not know what that is, but trust me, that is a killer exercise. I love it so much. It's a really special exercise, and if you can get it into your programming, you need a very specific bit of kit, but if you can get it in there, it's definitely worth having in. Lower. So lower is the day that was really impacting me negatively last year, because obviously legs is so intense, especially when you're training to failure like I was. That was actually one of the workouts that I was just not enjoying at all. So I had to really take a step back from legs and really bring it back down to basics. And I was mainly for a while just doing things like leg extensions and hamstring curls and just trying to rebuild that love for training that area again. I'm pretty much back to where I was before. There's a few changes in here, but I am actually very happy with how this workout is right now. So if you're looking for a new lower day and you want to give something a try, I would definitely recommend this one. So we've got 2 sets of leg extensions, and we've got 2 sets on the lie-in hamstring curl. My leg extension of choice, I've got a couple of options in the current gym that I'm at, but my leg extension of choice is the Hammer Strength MTS leg extension. I love that bit of kit, and you can go single leg on it as well, which is really nice. And then for the lie-in hamstring curl, we've got the Nautilus Nitro. We're then going into a leg press for just the 1 set on this for now. And the leg press that I'm actually using is the Nautilus Nitro pin loaded one. I was using a plate loaded one for a while, but that machine is absolutely brutal. It's great, but for where I'm at right now, I'm still working my way back up to that level of brutalness. So we're going with the pin loaded one for now. We then got 2 sets on the 45-degree hip extension. Very, very underrated exercise. This is the only hip hinge that I've got in my plan right now. And to be completely honest with you, I'm absolutely loving it. So at the minute, I don't have any plans to go back to any barbell hip hinging. Obviously, at some point, I'm sure I will do, but for now, I'm very happy with that 45-degree hip extension. We've got 3 sets of calves in there on the Swift machine. We're doing 2 minutes of walking dumbbell lunges, and then we finish on the adductor. Okay, going down to pull and triceps. Now you might be thinking this is a very odd layout to have pull and triceps, and you would be correct. That is just because when I dropped down to 4 days from 5, there was just some extra bits here and there that I needed to put somewhere, and triceps was one of those areas. I did consider putting it on the end of the lower day, and there's a part of me that might actually do that at some point, but for now, I've put it on the pull workout. So we've got 2 sets of the Nautilus Nitro lat pull down. Very, very important. This lat pull down is actually lats, as opposed to those traditional lat pull downs where you've got your palms down. I know that I talk about this all the time, but those ones are more upper back. We want to have a neutral grip, elbow nice and close for a lat pull down. So this Nautilus Nitro one does just that. If you don't have this machine, use a cable machine. We've then got a machine pullover, chest supported cable lat row. We've then got a rear delt cable crossover row. We're then doing a hammer strength MTS row. So I start with 3 lat biased exercises, and then I go into 2 exercises that are more rear delt / upper back. Then we go into some machine curls, and finally we finish with a superset, because this workout is quite long. So towards the end, I'm going to be flagging, and I'm going to superset it just to get myself out of the gym essentially. So we've got some single arm cable push downs with some cable drag curls. Final upper day. Now there's quite a bit of stuff in this that is very, very similar, if not the same, to the push day. So we're going to start with 3 sets of some side delt work, except this time we're going to be doing dumbbell laterals, not cable. We then go into, once again, the Nautilus Nitro chest press and the low incline Smith chest press. I'm finding that having those 2 exercises programmed twice a week is allowing me to progress them really nicely. I'm not finding that I'm stalling too often. I am finding that I'm managing to progress it at a nice rate. So at the minute, having those in there twice a week is working well. We've got the plate loaded lat row. So this is one of those hammer strength ones that you see in loads of different gyms. It's like the plate loaded row. You're sat quite high up. But for this, we're going to be standing and we're going to go single arm. It's going to allow us to get a nice drop off. So it means that as our lat is getting weaker, that weight is going to get a bit lighter as we pull back. And on top of that, we've also got what's known as a really nice path of motion, because we're going to create a downward arc. So our elbow is going to finish lower than it starts. So if you're using one of these machines and you're sat on it, my advice would be stand up and go single arm. We're going to do an upper back pull down. So that is a lat pull down like a traditional one, but we know better. We know it's more of an upper back exercise. So that's how I've got it written down. We've got some seated cable flies in there for 2 sets. And then we go into our arm works. This is all biceps, 3 sets of hammer curls, 2 sets of drag curls, and then we finish off with 1 set of seated dumbbell curls just to completely just finish them off. So in terms of the actual goal for this year, I want to just maximize my time as much as possible and just remain in a gaining phase for as long as is appropriate. The dream weight for me at the end of the bulk really is 75 kilos. However, I feel like if I'm being sensible, somewhere between 72 to 73 might end up being better from a composition point of view, but it's going to be a case of just playing it by ear, or I suppose by look. I don't want to gain unnecessary levels of fat, because ultimately 2024 is the year that I'm going to be pulling a lot of fat off, and I don't want to make it harder for myself, and I also don't want to be eating into excess muscle that I've grown. So as much as 75 kilos is a dream, I'm going to be sensible, and if I get to 72, 73 and feel like that's enough, then I'll call it time at that point. The conditioning work is obviously also something that I'm going to be keeping in every single week, so I'm holding myself accountable with this video. I've been sticking to that so far, and to be fair, by mixing it up, I'm enjoying it. When I'm doing the same cardio over and over, that's when I get a bit about it. But as long as I'm keeping it the same, as long as I'm changing it up, then it's just a lot easier for me. And finally, really that third goal to summarize on it is to not emotionally train, actually use my training as a way to turn off more than anything else. And, phone goes off, I'm just listening to music that makes me feel good. I'm thinking happy thoughts, and I'm just back to enjoying my training again. So that is my full plan for this year. If you have set yourself some goals for this year, let me know what they are down below. If you found this video useful, please drop it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one.